All right. Welcome, everyone, for the inaugural course from Echoes of Service. It's just a getting starting guide um, for those interested in getting started with their writing journey. I am James Heddinger, as you can see by my name tag on the Zoom there, um, and your host for the evening. Um, If you would like, we can go through and introduce yourselves. I know there's not very many of us. I expected a couple more. While I do open this up to veterans, first responders, and their family members, and just to get to know you a little bit more and what your journey or what you're interested in writing about, or if you've even started or anything to that effect. Um, Yeah, we can go over that real quickly and then we'll get into it. I'll share my screen as we wait. We can start. Whoever wants to go first.
All right.
Uh,
Oh, would you like to go, Amanda?
sure, I'll go.
Okay.
I don't know, I was like waiting. My name is Amanda. Um, I'm here just to learn about writing. I actually have some ideas for some books, but I have no idea what to do. So learning about publishing and writing is going to be a great learning experience that I'm going to be using. So, yes.
Okay. You get to choose who goes next. Or Keith can just go.
Keith can go.
All right.
This is off mute.
Uh, yes. Am I off mute? Yes, I am. Okay, good. My name is Keith Sykes. First writing class. Most of what I have written has been fiction, but it's been short stories. Nothing uh, as far as a novel goes. And so I just wanted to get some more instruction.
Mhm. All right. You a veteran.
Oh, yes. Yes, I am. Served about 15 years in the Army.
Okay. And Tiffany.
Sorry, I'm staying muted as best as I can because children are loud. But I'm actually more interested in writing poetry. But still haven't really put anything out there yet.
Okay. Well, hopefully we can get some hamsters on wheels and get things moving after tonight. Um, with this presentation, with this little course I put together. So without further ado, here we go. So getting started, we're going to look at turning your experience into a story, regardless of what that experience may be, and regardless of what kind of story you want to turn it into. Um, because the story principles apply to pretty much any story that are out there, whether it's nonfiction, fiction, whether you want to write a screenplay, you want to put together a comic book, the basic foundations of any story go hand in hand um, across the literary world. So, moving forward, this is what we are going to go over today, talking about why we want to write and understanding your own personal motivations and what you actually would like to write about, understanding that, figuring that out, where you might find your fit. It may be in a genre that you didn't realize you were interested in to begin with, and then potentially moving on to something else. And then finding that story whether you're writing about your own experiences or turning your own experiences into something else entirely, because you one of the best ways to put out your stories is writing about what you know, and then whether you're putting that out literally on the page or figuratively with fiction and just putting a pretty much a blanket over your experiences and creating a whole new world to put your experiences out there, like the stories or like the movies that start off based on true events and things like that. That's pretty much that same concept. We're going to talk about these different starting points. We have at least one exercise to go over, and then pretty much a follow-on one uh, after this, or at the end of it, to keep you going after the course, and then talk about the next steps to support your journey. So, why do we want to write? We want to well, first off, we want to process your experiences, get everything nice little bundle and put it out there for the world. Whether you want to put it out there to preserve your legacy, you want to connect with others, or you want to actually heal based off the horrific things that you've seen, experienced, things like that. You're trying to make sense of this organized chaos or what have you of this life of yours, and put it into a nice package for other people and potentially inspire others to uh, either do better with their life or live a new story and inspire their imagination, spark their imagination to write, create worlds as well. Um, and so going through these different aspects of why we want to write. This is kind of the aspect you want to think to yourself of why you want to put your stories out there. What are you trying to do? This will help you determine kind of what genre you're going to go into, whether you're writing fantasy, horror, romance, or go into more of the nonfiction side where you want to write self-help books, cookbooks, um, and other types of books to that effect. Um, so whether you're still doing these similar things throughout all these different genres, um, it all depend just all determines is determined by what avenue you want to actually go through to do that. You're still processing your experiences into these different genres. You're preserving a legacy for yourself with your kids and generations to come. You're still connecting with others. You're finding healing, but which one do you want to truly connect with, and then go from there? Is what you want to try to pinpoint to get you started and motivate you on this literary journey. Any questions about why writing, or do you have any other thoughts about what you might want to why you might want to write?
I just want to put that quack George R. Martin in his place.
That's true too. We could do that. I mean, if that is a goal uh, of the industry, we could definitely look at trying to do that.
No,
Uh,
I just have fun when I do it. Just
yeah,
throw
no,
out some stories
that's
I come
what
up
you
with.
want to do. The writing process should be fun. They say to write drunk and edit sober. So, um,
So you're saying I should drink and then write?
yeah, I mean, the process should be fun. It should not be stressful. It shouldn't, I mean, you should be writing about stuff that you love to write about. Um, and it should not be such a burden to you that it constantly stresses you out. And looking at these four different reasons of why you're wanting to write, if you always fall back onto these four reasons and incorporate it into your writing, you shouldn't be writing something that you're like, why am I writing this? Like if you don't like sci-fi and you don't read sci-fi, but yeah, you want to write a sci-fi novel, and for whatever reason you decided that, but you hate every day of it, and you have to think back to yourself, what is any of this making sense to you? Does it apply to any of these aspects of why you want to write? And if it doesn't, you should probably just either change the genre or drop it completely, because you got more ideas that you can come up with, and move forward instead of banging your head against the wall, with trying to write something that is not appealing to even you, because it certainly wouldn't be appealing to your audience if it's not appealing to you. Um, Now, there is some science behind writing, and research does show that writing, at least 15 minutes a day, in short sessions of expressive writing. This is the writing um, that I'm talking more about, to people that have the PTSD and uh, the horrible backgrounds and things like that they're trying to get over. You don't necessarily have to publish any of that, but writing about it for at least 15 minutes a day for a few days a week has shown significant advantages in looking at different paths forward instead of constantly being in the low area of your life when it comes to progressing forward. And while the data is not significant, it is there and it shows the advantages of doing it. Now, it's not something you want to constantly do unless that's something that you're wanting to actually write about and publish, and you've kind of gotten over those humps of dealing with the traumatic events and things like that. But uh, to initially start dealing with things like that, it starts slow, and moving forward will help you help get through these issues quicker and help you develop a more sustainable path than having to potentially dole out, a few $100 a month for therapy and things like that. Um, while I'm not a licensed therapist, but I highly recommend writing about it regardless. It's akin to journaling, but I mean, you can it doesn't have to be that you're going through it line by line, memory by memory of this therapeutic writing. I've read that, you literally could be just like dropping F-bombs about everything that happened about it, and you're just dropping F-bomb this guy, F-bomb that guy, or this situation or that, and you do that for 15 minutes, and then it's like, well, that was therapeutic. Uh, and you can keep it, or you can burn it and move on, and but it was a way to deal with it and being therapeutic. And so there are different writing exercises to help get through that. And I'll actually be developing a couple different courses to focus specifically on this. Um, if anyone is interested in getting into those later on, um, but this is just an overview of another reason why we should write, and getting our ideas out there, because it's just like people that work out for a living. It is a stress reliever, and just like with working out, writing also helps with relieving stress. As long as you can find that good place to write, uh, that you can do it for however long that you feel that you can do it. Some people say 15 minutes a day, an hour a day, but do what you feel is necessary, that you're just not going to stare at a blank page and get nothing done, because it's counterproductive. and I feel it's unrealistic to say this is how much you should do every day, all day, or every day, every week, every month. And yet I was doing that myself and I would just stare at a blank canvas and get nothing done. It was irritating. And I was like, I can't write like this. It's like, so when it came to me, that's when I would write. And so what works for you doesn't always work for everybody else. And that's what you should take away from that. So the different types of uh, some of the different genres out there that you can approach. You've got your fiction, your nonfiction, your screenplays, your military stories, your poetry, your memoirs. Other than screenplays, you also have playwrights, musicals, nonfiction, as I talked about, covers factual events, historical events, research projects, your self-help, fiction. Of course, you got all your different genres within fiction, fantasy, horror, sci-fi, all the creative freedom that you want. You can create your own genre. Um, but only if it really picks up with other writers does it actually get a genre drop down on all the various sites where you can publish it. Memoirs, and those are broken down, of course, as well to military memoirs and other um, niche areas as well. Poetry can be uh, multiple styles, and it doesn't have to be one single style in the entire book. Um, uh, Robert Frost did his Shades of Green and several pages of prose poetry. So it's like you're reading a short story, but it's poetry. Um, and you have your military stories specifically geared towards more towards the memoir, but it's more than a memoir. It's recounting um, the day in the life of said soldier, Marine, sailor, uh, and then how what they had overcame throughout their career, throughout their deployment. It doesn't have to span years. It can span one deployment. It can span a training event, um, and things like that. So when you're looking at memoirs or military stories, you don't have to look at uh, covering a vast block of time when you're trying to put these together as well. And same goes for fiction or nonfiction, screenplays. Um, a lot of people think they have to go over a certain a long time. They really don't. As long as you're where you're hitting the points and the highlights of that memoir and what you're the point you're trying to put across, um, is what you need to focus on. The rest of it ends up becoming background to build up into the memoir, and then of course your resolution at the end. And but there is or like it says, there's no single format. You can do really whatever you want with any story you want. There'll be editors out there. It's like, oh, you need to take that out. It's like, no, I don't. I'm going to keep it in there. They think they know what they're talking about. And truly, unless it really made no sense whatsoever to put this portion in, I wouldn't turn somebody's story down uh, because of certain aspects of it. There is reason for filler in stories, and there's reason um, uh, for background and things like that to build upon, especially if you're making a series of why certain things need to be in there. And believe the next slide talks about, no, not yet. But so we're talking about coming from the military to the creative life. We'll get into the arcs of the story in a couple slides. But so we're going from the military to creative life. And it's not just the military life, it's also that first responder life, that military spouse or first responder spouse life. You have a routine that you develop over the years, regardless if you think of it as being military or not, because like, oh, I'm just a spouse, I'm at home. But you get up, you get the kids ready, you get the breakfast ready, you get them out the door to go to school, then you did your, maybe you do the initial dishes from breakfast, then you get laundry, then you do this, then you do that. And then you sit down for lunch, then you do even more things, and they come home. Then you get ready for dinner, then you set dinner, then you get homework, and then all this other stuff. It's all routine. It's a discipline that regardless it is the same thing in and day out, it's still routine. And those skills that made, us service members, good service members, also makes you a good spouse. And so utilizing that also makes you a great writer as well, is those attention to detail, knowing where the kids' music shirt is for the concert. Knowing where the shoes are that they need specifically for, marching band. It's those things that those attention to details is what um, makes them a good candidate for a writer, regardless if you're a spouse um, or a service member. Welcome, Chris. And that, gets you focused on that mission of writing. So you are continuing to, and just like when you are in the military and going through your career, you're building up these skills to strengthen your practice, just like you are when you're writing. You're starting out, you don't know anything, you build upon that, um, and you continue to use those skills that you've developed over these years, raising a family, dealing with deployments, and things like that. You apply those as well to your writing, and everything will eventually get smoother, and the process, whether you started out with one process, you may move to another one, and may find another way to take notes, another way to outline. But the process is the discipline that you've got, the details you put into it, with and then focus on the mission of writing the book. They all play into each other based off the skills that you've developed over your uh, lifetime. And now starting or finding your starting point. We'll start with a story you often tell. And this is going to play into the little exercise we have coming up. Everybody has a story they like telling when they first meet somebody for the first time, within those first couple weeks, when they get together. And and Yes, ghosts. That definitely was something I was knew Amanda would bring up. So yeah, they always have something they would bring up within the first, with her, it's the first minute. But within that first few weeks, they meet somebody. You have a story you often tell, and so finding that starting point is where you can focus on starting point for a story that you are coming up with. You also can focus on moments that are stuck with you. Yes, they can be bad moments, but you can also focus on those good moments. You can also focus on failures and what you've done to overcome those, because we learn from our failures. Um, you can also, if you really can't think of anything off the top of your head, you can always buy books that prompt you. You can use AI to prompt you, like, hey, give me a list of prompts to start writing from, and then go from there, to help you get started on something that you're interested in writing about, but you don't know where to start. Um, and one of the biggest things is also you don't have to start at the beginning of a story. Um, if you're thinking about different events and things like that through your life, that might be the event you want to eventually get to, but it's not going to end up being your starting point. So you start writing around that event you know where you might want to end um, in the telling of this story, but you still don't know where you want to begin. So you work backwards from that and what led up to said event. So you don't always have to start from that specific event as your starting point, unless it is the inciting incident of your story, and what led you down a path to destruction, or your character to the path of destruction, or a path of righteousness, or what have you. But it it's not, you don't always have to think so linear when it comes to creating your stories. You can focus on different parts of your story at a time to bring everything together. Any questions up to this point? Any comments?
Yes, I'd just
Hey,
like to point out that, Chris, are you really into bacon?
why do you ask?
Because it's crispy. So if you love bacon, it's crispy bacon.
Look into my eye, Keith. I love bacon. I think I got some bacon flavored Coke around here somewhere. I hope nobody
Oh
minds, but
no.
I'm gonna keep it professional.
Yeah,
All right.
Sorry I'm late, James.
no, it's no problem.
Uh, nice to meet you all. I'm buddies with James, and I'm a writer as well. I'm just here to to soak it all in. So nice to meet you all.
I thought it was interesting that you were talking about, oh, nice to meet you too, Chris. The fact that you don't have to start the story at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah,
You
and a
can
lot of
just,
people, when they are initially looking at starting a story, that's where they want to start, is from the beginning, and they don't realize they don't have to do that. And it may have been the standard at one point. It's like, no, you always start at the beginning. But the way writing has gone nowadays, especially when you're looking at writing thrillers or mysteries and things like that, you're not really starting at the beginning anymore. You're starting somewhere in the middle, and you circle back to um, that event eventually. Um, and or screenplays as well. But you end up circling back to that event, and it makes more sense later in the book, or in that screenplay, as to why this happened, or why this character would have done it. Because I was like, well, in the beginning, this guy didn't seem all that bad, and that's why. And so
so the Joker's actually a good guy, is what you're saying.
could be. Maybe it's a double twist. I don't know.
Okay.
It's all about how you want to write that story. All right. So the next thing, so writing for healing, we're getting more into that aspect as well. Um, it helps process those difficult experiences, because you may come across it at a time where it's like, all right, I've gotten better with my writing. I want to actually tackle more of a difficult task that I've been wanting to tackle, and now I'm going to start doing it. But um, I wanted to get better as a writer. I wanted to feel more comfortable as a writer before doing so. Or it may be something that other veterans are looking into doing um, to help with their issues, because it is a therapeutic uh, aspect for writing, as we discussed. Um, it and actually working with other veterans or first responders in the writing process to go through this. Um, for me, personally, I would feel more comfortable working with somebody that has been through something more a similar situation than a therapist that just went to school and studied books. Um, that's trying to help out, and but it's to each their own on that aspect. But the writing process does help with creating that distance for you between yourself and that traumatic experience. The more you write about it, as we discussed, a little bit each day for a few days a week helps create that distance between you and that traumatic event, getting you more desensitized to it, helping you get through it and find a better path forward instead of going down a darker path that many tend to go down. Helps create, organize those chaotic thoughts and feelings, and putting those feelings and thoughts into words that make more sense as you start getting it down. So helping out those people is definitely one of the aspects I'm wanting to create. And then for any of you that might be wanting to write to heal as well, these are things that you can look toward or look at to help you in that process if you have something difficult to write about as well.
I'm getting mixed signals.
It is also similar to journaling, but it's not journaling per se because you're not just writing it down and then forgetting it. You're continuing to engage with it. So, what was that, Keith?
So I'm getting mixed signals. My therapist tells me I need to stop drinking so much, and you're telling me I need to drink when I write.
Hey. That is I'm drinking
Trade
soda.
secret.
I mean whatever
Right,
you want to drink, so
right, drunk, edit sober.
that's right. See, he knows it. He knows it. Just hope it's not like the passing out on the keyboard type of writing and you got Z for several pages.
Just W's,
You
W's,
got
W's.
W's and things like that. So moving forward, we got the
I
five.
haven't written one of those since college.
Yep, yeah, five main elements of compelling stories. With the way we're moving forward with my company, the authenticity and specific details of events that are out there. People know about some of these different events, but what veterans, first responders bring to it, and spouses even, because from the backside of some of these events are that authenticity and specific details about different events that the news doesn't bring, and things like that. And that's what you all can bring to these different stories that we put out. Yeah, they might have heard about so and so event, but they didn't see it from this perspective because they weren't there on the ground when it happened, um, and, and and so on. You also have the conflict, the transformation, universal meanings. The main compelling elements of any story out there are going to have these five main elements as you're writing these stories. And so a good balance of these elements throughout your stories will bring more people in that want to read your stories. And yes, it takes a couple attempts to getting different books out there and things like that to get more readers. But as they see that how authentic your writing is, and the details that you bring based off of your stories, your life experiences, it's going to continue to bring more and more readers in as they spread the word about it. Chris, you got anything specific on this?
Um, I think the only caveat I would add, right? Stomp,
Mm-hmm.
stomp.
No,
The
yeah.
caveat off that, the caveat off Sergeant Major, um, is
Oh
just
no.
is just um, the world that we have inhabited, whether we worked as veterans or whether we were, married into it, um, is um, almost sacred. to obviously to us, but also to our readers and to Americans writ large, and really people around the world. So there is like there is I guess I would add maybe this falls under authenticity, but there's like an exclusivity element. Like we're kind of peeling back um the curtain a little bit on those experiences that we lived, and people genuinely want to hear them. And so that if there's and again maybe this fits under authenticity, but to me veterans have um, both a unique and desired perspective on the world.
Mhm.
That's something that both makes for a much better story
Yep.
and also, frankly, makes for a very commercial story if you can pull it off.
Yeah.
Editors and publishers, and the people who between you and your reader, um, all want that. So if you can, in some way, capitalize on that or highlight that, that's you know, that's uh,
Mhm.
that's magic.
Yep.
End of message.
Oh yeah. Yep. And building off of this, here are your pretty much 5 commandments of your stories. As I talked about the inciting incident earlier, you have your inciting incident, your turning point, your crisis, your climax, and your resolution. And the reason it's continuous is because it should be continuous throughout your entire story. Uh, from the beginning all the way through the end, each chapter should reflect this, but it always should point back to your overall overarching theme throughout your story. Um, Everything, is feeds off of each other. You should be able to pull this out from every chapter. What was my inciting incident of that chapter? What was the biggest deal about that chapter? It could be as simple as like, oh, do I take this left fork or this right fork? The turning point, well, he took the right fork. The crisis, well, the right fork may have looked safer, but the fact of the matter is that's where, it led to death and certain doom. The climax is he gets to, uh, some danger point in there, and the resolution is, well, he survived, but his horse is probably dead now, and now has to deal with something else. And so as you're moving
A
through,
zone of danger, if you will.
yes, a danger zone. As you're moving through each chapter, you're wanting to make sure you're hitting these 5 points throughout. The crisis can, have stakes that you implement throughout. Um, and then at the end of each chapter, there should be some sort of value change, whether it's um, we were lost, but now we found our way. We knew where we were going, but now we're lost. You kind of flip it, or it was a life situation. We're all happy to go, but now we have a death. Or um, similar to that, if it's a fantasy, you have a death, but now there's life. Or reincarnation of Gandalf the Gray is now Gandalf the White kind of thing. um, uh, those types of value changes throughout each chapter, and it can be negative to positive, positive to negative, positive, positive, negative, negative, all depending on the type of story that you're trying to develop, to make it have these ups and downs throughout the story. That's where you get these. And I believe our next slide is our exercise. And it's a real short exercise, just a 1 sentence story. Um, just think of a story you often tell to friends or family, write down 1 sentence that captures it, and then add some details. Who was there? What happened? Reflect. Why did you tell this particular story? Who needs to hear it and why? And then I'll give you about 5 minutes to go over it, and we'll go from there. We get a couple reads of the sentence. Of course, when you're adding the details, I expect it to be a little bit more in the sentence, but um, this is just to get your thoughts flowing, doesn't have to be perfect or anything like that. So just a one sentence, you can write it down physically, or you can open a Word document.
Just one sentence.
Just one sentence, and then you build off of it by adding details to make it a more of a run-on sentence for that. And I got an example of what that looks like on the next page when we're adding more. I think it's the next slide, yeah. When we're adding more detail and things like that. I think the one sentence story is like, you remember that one time at the Chow Hall?
I already got mine. My kids enjoy me telling this story in its entirety. But this one time in high school at a soccer game, I kicked a kid's foot so hard it broke off of his leg.
Yep, yep. Actually, man, the horse was killed by sinking into the mud. It was a white horse.
Are we talking about Atreyu?
Could be. Could be a trade.
Too soon.
It's
Too soon.
in the
Ah,
80s.
Wait,
yeah,
still, I was
it
gonna
was
say, I was
only
like,
40 years ago. We got to give it more
too
time.
soon? Still too soon?
Wasn't the boy's name Atreyu, or was that the horse? I don't remember.
The boy was Atreyu.
Yeah.
Artax.
Oh, Tex, that's right. Yeah.
Look around.
All right. So as you're going through that, you're looking at those power or sensory details for those other impacting effects to your one sentence. You're adding those visual, auditory, the smells, the touch, taste. As the example here shows, the mess hall always smelled like industrial cleaner beneath the powdered eggs. The metal trays were still warm from washing, steam rising as the hit the cold air conditioning. So, while that's not a cool story, it needs more dragons. Uh, that's what you're looking for when you're trying to develop more on this. You kind of want to stay away from using too many adverbs. That's words that end in ly. And you want to show more than tell, and that's how this sentence here shows more detail than telling. And what adverbs do is it just tells you what's happening instead of showing you what's happening. Um, And so the next thing would be to add a sensory detail to your one sentence story as well, such as the crunch of the bone.
Ah, yes. Eating those baby chickens in China. Quite crunchy.
Was more the foot for your story.
Fine. Actually, I don't think he broke any bones because the foot is kept onto the leg by multiple tendons
Yeah.
as opposed to fused bone. So I don't think it actually broke any bones.
Okay. I guess the sight of him crumbling in.
Oh gosh, dude, there was such a feeling of power after that.
Anybody else got a story they want to share? Their one sentence story? It's all right. No one wants to. We can move on. But the tips to keep going.
Wait, what are we supposed to be doing,
If you had
James?
that one sentence story, if you want to share what you have.
There you go. I put it in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, that'll work. They managed to survive. They were treated as feral by the very tribe that needed them wild. Those who can go anywhere but have nowhere to go. Okay. And then it's adding, if you could add a sensory aspect to that, where do you think you could add a sensory aspect to it? To me, a visual one seems to be more. Managed to survive the tree. Okay, yeah, yeah, okay.
Well, Amanda is channeling Hemingway right now, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And the family that lives in the house where she worked and lived was having experience where the maid was cleaning up the mess of the family was leaving behind.
Okay. Good, good, good. So just starting with something small like that, and you can build off that easily. So tips to keep going. You can use technology wisely. Using the voice to text apps can capture these stories while you're on just tips. While you're out and about, like Otter AI, Dragon Dictation, other voice memos on your phone, helps you to get the information out quicker than having to write it down nowadays. Um, because it sucks once you got an idea and you're like, oh crap, I need to write this down or text it out, and you forget it halfway through. Um, Set yourself some achievable goals. Start with 10 minutes a day, 300 words, whatever works for you. Something small, consistent, that you can work on, and then build from there. So that, like I said, looking at a blank page is pretty intimidating if you're like, oh, I got to write 2,000 words a day, or 1,000 words a day, or sit at my computer for an hour a day, and you just sit there and write nothing for an hour because that's what you've decided to do, and nothing gets done. Go with what works for you, and then find your community. Joining critique groups, veteran writing circles, online communities. There's uh NaNoWriMo. There's all kinds of them on Discord, on other forums out there. And they're just like eating an elephant in one bite at a time. There's only one way to write a story, one word at a time. So and the biggest one of the biggest things about finishing a book is finishing that first draft. It doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be perfect. It's just getting that first draft out and done, and then moving on to the editing portion, which should be your initial big push to perfect everything. because you'll edit a book 5 times before you finally, at least 5 times before you finally are ready to send it to somebody to read. Um, because that's just how it is. You don't want to send, you typically don't want to send people your rough drafts, but if you're in writing groups and things like that, that's where you will get the critiques you need to move forward with each pro progressive step that you're taking. The common challenges and solutions that you're going to get, well, I don't know where to start. Well, I've helped you kind of find a place to start with this. Um, Start with that single scene, a moment. Like I said, don't start chronologically. Start in the middle. Start at the end. Work your way back. You don't always have to start at the beginning. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I never took any writing classes, or I've never been good at English or grammar." It's like, don't worry about that. Anybody can be a writer. Um, the experience is actually what matters, not so much of how you're getting it down, because there's all different types of ways to make the story better, working with other people, whether you're working with a writing coach, a ghost writer, um, editors, as they come along and they'll help you out. My story isn't interesting enough. If you're taking the time to do it, it's interesting enough. Somebody somewhere else has had similar experiences, and they most likely are dealing with similar situations and have probably been looking for a book that's to help them through something like that. So, and then other ones, some memories are too painful. Yes, some of them are, and a lot of people hold on to those. Not all memories do, or not all, books get published, but even just putting it down can help get through things and move forward instead of staying in a rut. Um, we all face the obstacles. Professional writers face obstacles. It's not a beginning writer thing. It's not, so it's not something you can't get over. I think the biggest obstacle is just starting. And that's where a lot of people struggle, is just getting started and continuing to move forward. Some other support for veterans and families out there, some different organizations. We have the Veterans History Project. Um, I think he's on LinkedIn. Help get in your books or anything you want published onto the Library of Congress. Um, Regardless if you actually publish it, but you can at least get it into the Library of Congress. Tell your story, you can get it into the Library of Congress. Military Writing Society of America have different opportunities out there. Of course, my company will have different workshops and class courses like this. Planning on doing at least 2 or 3 a month as I continue to build them. The VA story programs and ASAP both offer different various programs. ASAP is not the alcohol substance and abuse program in the Army. It is the Armed Services Arts Partnership, where you can learn how to do different types of poetry, to playwriting, screenwriting, and also stand-up comedy if you want to do it. They offer all kinds of things to deal with the arts. And then you could also join various local writing groups as well.
I just threw a VME Connect into the chat as well. It's a Vets in Media and Entertainment.
Mhm.
I have found that group to be very active, and many chapters, including digital chapters, for all kinds of people in this world. So hook up with them if you can. You can sign up. I think you sign up through ID Me or upload your DD-214, and it's all vets. Um, and
Nice.
um, and these guys are all hooked in. Like the chapter leaders all work at Random House or NBC or whatever.
Nice. Okay. Good. Great connection there. And then some ethical considerations and personal writing, privacy. You can, use a pen name or pseudonym if you don't want to put your real name out there. Um, if you're putting real people's names out there and you're calling people out in your stories, be prepared for backlash. Um, balancing that good, uh, what your events may be compared to what is what's happened, and understand that someone may call you out on things, um, and be prepared to also to defend your stance. Don't be a Tim Kennedy and embellish everything, because you will get called out for that as well. Um, Boundaries, know what you can share, and what you shouldn't share, especially if it's not your story. And then clarify your goals as well moving forward, especially if it is dealing with personal healing, and if it's actually for public consumption or not. So understand that when moving forward. And then there's a little reflection prompt. You don't have to do this right now, but another, what story have you never written down but always tell? What haven't you written yet? Or why haven't you written yet? What might change if you did write it down? Uh, Writing makes the implicit explicit. It transforms floating thoughts into concrete words that can be examined, understood, and shared. The stories we shape our identity, we tell shape our identity and how we understand our experiences. Writing them down allows us to see them and ourselves more clearly. So what's stopping you from doing some self-reflection of different events in your life? You might come out with a different perspective and of why that event turned out why it did if you simply write it down and start evaluating it. So the publishing options they have out there, you got some self-publishing, traditional, you got digital publishing, and then hybrid publishing. Self-publishing, yep, you can go to Kindle and all these other avenues out there. Um, it's a pretty quick and easy way to do it. But you have to do pretty much everything on your own. Traditional publishing, you have to pretty much put your manuscript out to everybody that you want to try getting to back your book. And it's a long road to try getting people to buy into it. Digital publishing, pretty simple, similar to self-publishing, but you're only staying the digital route. So ebooks only. You do make most of what you put the book up for back, but you're only limiting yourself to ebook sales in that retrospect. But you can also set it up to do blogs, um, articles, and stuff like that, and have a pay to read type of subscription model as well. If you have enough content that is worth having a subscription model for. And then you have the hybrid models, which is kind of what my company does. You're investing into the company, whatever they have to offer, but you get editorial services, cover artists, formatting, what have you, and they do the work for you after you've developed your manuscript and do all the publishing, similar to the traditional publisher with the publishing route, but they get you all the different routes, but they also take care of the manuscript and those and the other aspects as well, so you don't have to take care of that um, at a different price. The traditional route, they front you money, but you end up having to pay all that back in sales if you plan on making it back or can make it back. The hybrid publishing is you pay the costs up front, and then everything else on your sales come back. The sales go directly to you minus royalties and things like that. So what's next? This week, focus on trying to get that sentence into a paragraph. This month, if you can, try finding a writing group or thing or something to help influence your writing or expand your writing rather. and then consider a workshop or something else to expand more upon your writing skills. Start small, but start so that you uh, can get those ideas out there and potentially reach and inspire others out there. There's your resources that I've got. I think I've already pushed out some of those, but it's also got the website, my website, and my email. You can reach me at if you have any questions or comments. I'd like to hear some feedback about the course tonight. How I could do better. If you'd like to see more prompts, maybe less slides, I'm all ears. How to make these better, because this is one of the free courses I'll be giving, among some other ones that we'll be doing as well. One that'll be focusing specifically on nonfiction and one on fiction. And then uh, but if they're like one shots similar to these, it would be the free offerings on the site. But the workshops that last anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks would be a paid workshop, but would be on specific genres and things like that once I start developing those out a little bit further. But um, any questions or anything, comments before we wrap it up? Anybody?
Thank you very much.
I'd like to get introductions on everybody on the line, if that's cool. Just a little bit about
No,
it.
you were late. Sorry.
We did do a little bit of an introduction at the beginning, but we can do another one real quick.
Anyway, I'm Keith. Also served in the Army for about 15 years. Logistics. So not as cool as the X-rays, but I made sure you guys had your beans and bullets.
I'll stop sharing now. And
Hey, Amanda. Hey, Tiffany. Nice to meet you.
finish the recording.
Okay, I'm a spouse.